Good evening, Facebook Live. Apostle Terrence Lyons of Ecclesia Ministries here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Coming to you on tonight, bringing you tonight's Bible study. Pray that everything is going well for everyone. Wish everyone a well new year according to the land that we're living in. Just a minute, I'm going to get us set up here and we'll be ready to rock and roll. Set up here. All right. All right. So, again, hope everyone had a good new year and you ready to dig into some stuff, because I'm sure the question, don't log off, don't log off, don't log off. Just hear me out. Don't shut me off because of the question tonight. I'm gonna be coming. Good evening there, Prophetess Tanisha. Good evening there, Pastor April. Good evening there, my brother Leo. So do not shut me off, please. Not. I'm going somewhere with the question, and tonight's gonna make the light bulb go off for a lot of you. It's gonna make the light bulb come on. It's gonna make things shift. It's gonna put you in a new trajectory to get you definitely headed where you need to be. Good evening there, Overseer Melissa. There are some major things on the horizon for the kingdom, and just making sure that everybody's properly equipped is what I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing right now, because like I said, there's some open doors in 24 that are waiting on you. Good evening there, sis. And as I go through what we're going to cover tonight, this is for whatever reason, it's a controversial difference between, I'm gonna say it like this so that it's easily understood. It's easily understood. Good evening there, Aunt Gwen. There's a major difference when it comes to sin between the old school church and the new school church. That's how I'm going to define it tonight, so that I can be crystal clear in what I'm saying, because I'm not going to be approaching this from a fire and brimstone angle, because that is what a lot of the old school is wanting to happen. And the issue is that the old school church preached the fire and brimstone, and there's still a lot of trauma left over from that. Did they feel like they got results? Yes, they did. They felt like, people were saved and all of that. But if we'll be honest about the results, and we're going to be talking about that some Saturday in depth, if you'll be honest about the results, the trauma outweighed the results that were gotten, because there's a lot of stuff that was swept under the rug that is now coming out in a lot of ways with a lot of different people that are from the old school church. Now, the thing that I want to make sure that everybody is aware, I'm not siding with either, because There are things from the new school that I don't fool with, and there's things from the old school that I don't fool with. But when we talk about what sin is, there's some ignorance to the new school with the new school church, and there's some ignorance with the old school church concerning sin as well. And there are things that, again, I Saturday, I'll let y'all know ahead of time. I may be putting a parental discretion advisement on Saturday's message. There will at least be one part that we've got to talk about in order for me to address, because we're going to be talking about transitioning from religion to kingdom. That's what we're shifting to. So tonight's question is to get the ball rolling in that direction so that you'll know how to properly transition from religion to kingdom, because truth be told, until you get real about the results, you're not ready for a change. And that's a problem with the old school church. The old school church is just wanting things to go back, preach fire and brimstone. You have super long services. You stay all day, all night. And again, I'm not against that from that standpoint. But this is what I need for you to understand. So some did watch services, for the new year, and just a whole bunch of different things that are out there as traditions. But if you'll really be honest, were the results worth the work that was put in? Were lives really changed with the actions that were carried out? Or did it produce good actors? I'm going to be real. Because truth be told, the old school church built a whole lot more actors than real change came out of. I am being 1,000% authentic tonight, and I don't care who gets mad. Because when people were still going and doing the same things that they were coming up to the altar to have prayed over and cast out and removed, and coming back every single week. And y'all know what I'm talking about. You know the person that you knew was coming up to the altar every week for the same thing. And that's why we've got to address, were the results really real? Or were we just putting on good actors? And again, I am not saying that you don't have to press through change that requires you navigating while you're still dealing with a sin that's happening in your life. That ain't what I'm saying. I'm not saying you're going to have an immediate change. You've been doing something for 10, 15 years. I'd be a fool to think one service is going to have you no longer stumbling with that problem that you had for 15 years. Can it turn around? Yes, but you're not fully who you need to be for the functioning of that new position. So you're going to jack some stuff up. Does that mean that the change wasn't legitimate? No, it does not. It means that you're not yet mature for what you were changed into. Teach them, lions. See, because a lot of what the old school did is they taught, well, everything's changed now. You've got everything you need. And them was lies. There's some wisdom that needed to come along with that change. There was some coaching that needed to come along with that change. There was some nurturing that needed to come along with that change. And that wasn't there. And by that not being there, that's why a lot of the stuff that's happening in this generation is now happening. All right. So the question, are you still committing sin? So let's go ahead and dig deep into this. I know I done already stirred the pot in a rough way, but y'all know me, y'all understand me. So for our first point tonight, I want to go to the book of First Kings, chapter 13, and sis, if you'll just put the whole chapter, because I'm gonna have to jump around. I don't want to. I'm gonna focus in on a certain few of the verses, but I'm gonna use this passage and then another passage for my first point. But for this passage, just put First Kings 13 whole chapter, and it'll make sense for everyone else. We've covered this chapter before, but y'all know me. We can look at the same chapter for a year, and it's still going to be stuff coming out of it. So 1 Kings 13, I'm going to read verses 1 through 10 just to kind of lay the groundwork. And then I'm going to go to our next passage, and then we'll come back to 1 Kings 13 because there's something that I want to show you in the other passage that's going to piggyback this passage. So 1 Kings 13, verses 1 through 10 is what I'm going to read first. It says, "And behold, there came a man of God, out of Judah by the word of the Lord unto Bethel. And Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense. And he cried against the altar in the word of the Lord, and said, O altar, altar, thus saith the Lord, behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Josiah by name, and upon thee shall he offer the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee, and men's bones shall be burnt upon thee. And he gave a sign the same day, saying, This is the sign which the Lord hath spoken. Behold, the altar shall be rent, and the ashes that are upon it shall be poured out. And it came to pass, when King Jeroboam heard the saying of the man of God, which had cried against the altar in Bethel, that he put forth his hand from the altar, saying, Lay hold on him. And his hand, which he put forth against him, dried up, so that he could not pull it in again to him. The altar also was rent, and the ashes poured out from the altar, according to the sign which the man of God had given by the word of the Lord. Now watch this. It says, And the king answered and said unto the man of God, Entreat now the face of the Lord thy God, and pray for me, that my hand may be restored me again. And the man of God besought the Lord, and the king's hand was restored him again, and became as it was before. So just so you understand what happened, this man of God goes, he stands in front of the altar and says, Hey, this is what's fixing to happen to this city and this place right here. And the king of that place, so you got your king, and the prophet represents the priest here. So the king of that place is like, no, it kill this man. Y'all shut him down. And when you are truly doing what the Lord has for you to do, ain't nobody gonna be able to shut you down. Not the world, no enemy, no nothing. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises up against you will be condemned. So that's what happened right here, is this king speaks against God's man that was following the instructions that he was given. So then, when the king's hand withers, at least the king had enough sense. See, sometimes you got to have enough sense to know that the results of your situation are going to sometimes require for you to lean on who you were against before. Now, I don't know who that's for, but you just heard me. This king understood, you know what? I thought he wasn't a man of God, and I thought that, he was talking a little crazy, but now my hand is with it, and probably the only one that can fix it is the one that caused it to go this way. So will you please call on your Lord and pray that my hand be restored? So watch what happens. In verse 7, it says, the king said unto the man of God, come home with me and refresh thyself, and I will give thee a reward. So after the man of God prays, gets the results for the king's hand, now the king wants him on his team. The king wants to hook up. King wants to collaborate. King wants to, y'all see what I'm saying. So watch what happens. It then says, and the man of God said unto the king, if thou wilt give me half thine house, I will not go in with thee, neither will I eat bread nor drink water in this place, for so was it charged me by the word of the Lord, saying, eat no bread, nor drink water, nor turn again by the same way that thou camest. So he went another way, and returned not by the way that he came to Bethel. So this king is he's basically trying to bribe him, trying to get him on his side, trying to get him to be a part of his cabinet, trying to get him to be a part of what he's got in place. Prophet's like, no, I ain't going. I ain't doing it. And see, sometimes that's the exact answer that you need to give. So I need for y'all to type in, I ain't doing it. You gonna have some folks asking you to do something opposite of what the Lord told you to do. You just go ahead and put it in. I ain't doing it. Yeah, I ain't doing it. No, I ain't falling for it. I ain't going for it. I ain't doing it. No. The answer is N-O. No, I ain't doing it. I'm not collaborating with you. I'm not connecting up with you. And that can be somebody that is seemingly a righteous person. Seemingly, y'all are on the same page. Seemingly, y'all are in the same vein. But unless the Lord said do it, I ain't doing it. Unless he made it, I ain't doing it. No. The answer is no. Now, we ain't in the streets, but y'all know when you was in the streets, you answered it in another way too. But this is what I need for you to understand about this. So now I want you to go to James chapter 4 and verse 17. Keep your spot in 1 Kings because we're going back there. But I want you to go to James chapter 4 and verse 17, because in James chapter 4 and verse 17, here's what we find. It says, therefore, to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. Uh-oh. Houston, we got a problem. We got a problem. Like, well, what's the problem with that? So the context of this is talking about boasting about tomorrow here in James chapter 4. And what it's basically saying is, don't boast about tomorrow. What you should say is Lord willing, if we shall live and do this, we'll do this and we'll do that. But this is what I got to get you to understand. For a long time, I had to, as God was teaching me about time and helping me to understand what was going on, my level of faith had to change about what he told me. So your level of faith is going to have to change about what he told you. Woo, I feel something. See, the issue is that some of you are not as confident about what he said to you as when he initially said it. And now it makes sense as to why he told me that some people need to recheck the prophecy. Some of you are not as sure that you are where you belong anymore. You don't know if that's the job for you anymore. You don't know if that's the relationship for you anymore. You don't know if that's the city for you anymore. You don't know if that's the state for you anymore. Here we go. Let's dig into something because I want you to see this. To him that knoweth, and that's what we got to address. What do you really know? So y'all type that question in for me. What do you really know? See, because the problem is that a lot of you have been fighting with God about what he told you. But do you really know what he meant with what he told you? What do you really know? See, because we're gonna deal with something in Proverbs later that when we deal with it, your life is going to change. Because again, the light bulbs are going to come on. What do you really know? See, and the issue is that we try to find out too much before we start sometime. Oh, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Y'all take a big hug from me for that one. But sometimes you try to find out too much before you get started with what he told you to do. See, and the problem is that a lot of you have wasted a lot of time over something you really don't know. You don't wasted a lot of time over something you really don't know. So you've not moved based upon trying to gather some more information instead of just making sure that you understood the information that you've already been given. See, because here's the issue. He says, to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. Now, this is what you got to understand. See, what you got to understand is that it's only sin when you know. And understand where I'm fixing to go with this, because I can already hear the haters ready to fight and push and prod and all of this. But there's a lot of things that people are trying to hold other people accountable for, when the problem is they really didn't know what to do in the process. So here's what I want you to understand. Now let's go back to 1 Kings 13, because there's something that I want you to see. Now that you've seen this, to him that knoweth to do good. See, the issue is the person that you're trying to say is doing wrong, you might not have all of their information. You wrong for not collaborating with me. You wrong for not agreeing with me to do this thing that God told me to do. That's the key. He told you to do it. But now you asking for somebody else for help. The problem is, did you ask God if that's who you are supposed to be asking for help concerning what you were told to do? See, the problem is some of y'all got the wrong help. Oh, I love you. I love you. I love you. But the question again is, are you still committing sin? They're like, well, I'm just trying to do what the Lord told me to do. Are you trying to do it the way he told you to do it, though? Or did you even find that out? Did you find out how you were supposed to do it? See, I'll type that in. Did you find out how you were supposed to do it? I know you watch some other folk. I know you watch family. I know you watch kinfolk. I know you watch somebody else do what he gave you to do. But are you doing it the way that he told you to do it? We finna deal with some stuff right here. See, because that was the fight that I had when he called me to ministry. My comparison was to my daddy, and I was like, Lord, I ain't doing that. I can't do that way. I'm not. And he said, I didn't ask you to do it that way. I need you to do it like how I'm telling you to do it. That's the key. Did you find out how you were supposed to do it? Like I said, I know you didn't watch some other folk, but did you find out how you were supposed to do it? See, because that's what makes the difference. Because when you go back to 1 Kings 13, see, that's where the key comes in. And I'm taking time on this first point because once we get started rolling in this first point, it's going to hit home and it's going to be hot and heavy from this point on. See, watch this. Right there in verse 8, it says, and the man of God said unto the king, if thou wilt give me half thine house, I will not go in with thee, neither will I eat bread nor drink water in this place, for so was it charged me. He's saying, you can go kick it, you can go eat, you can go do whatever you want to do. But I was charged not to do this. I know you, the king. And watch this. He could have had his head removed right then, right there. Because for you to disobey a direct order of a king could have got you beheaded during this time. But at least this king had enough sense to know, now my hand done withered up. from what this man done said. And me speaking against him. So now I ain't gonna mess with him. But I'm trying to reward him. And like, I ain't taking it. I ain't touching it. And you can't make me. And the king had enough sense to know, no, I better not mess with him. So look at what happens. This man of God understands this is what my instruction is, no matter who asks me to alter it. See, and that's what's done messed some of you up. You have allowed who asked you to alter you. Ooh-wee. Certain person asks you, you'll shift it. But nah, you got to get to the place where I don't care who asks. See, that's one of the things that I am thankful that a lot of people around me have built and understood within themselves. I have let them know, look, you do whatever the Lord told you to do. And I ain't got no problem if I come and ask you to do something other than what he gave you to do in the specific moment that we're in, and you say, Pastor, this is the way the Lord told me to do it. I ain't finna say nothing else to you, period. And I got witnesses on here that can vouch for that. All they gotta say is, Pastor, you put it in my hands, and this is how the Lord told me to do it. And I am not going to say a word. I am going to get in line and I'm going to follow instructions with whatever they have for me to follow. Period. And I got witnesses for that on here right now. That is that not what I do, y'all? If I give y'all something to do, those of you that are part of Ecclesia, if I give you something to do, and I can come and say, you, as soon as you say, this is what the Lord told me to do, psh, Terrence Lyons, apostle, pastor, whatever role, is zipping it up and ain't saying another word. Ain't gonna fool with it. Ain't gonna touch it. Ain't gonna try to alter nothing. Fall in line. As a matter of fact, if anybody else try to get out of line with it, then I'm backing them up. And I'm saying, hey, they doing what the Lord told them to do. Leave them alone. Either follow suit or don't follow at all. And see, that's what some of you have to get to the place of knowing how to do. You either follow suit or don't follow at all. But this is what I need you to get, and this is what I want you to understand out of this. And now I can give you the first point. Not doing what the Lord told you to do is your sin, not anybody else's. See, when you know what the Lord's told you to do, even if you come and see somebody else doing the exact same thing, and you start to choose to do it a different way than what you were told to do, that's your sin, not anybody else's. Period. See, and I'm just trying to teach y'all what I already know, because these are kingdom principles that I'm giving you. When the king gives you directions, then you need to do whatever he told you to do. Period. Let God be true and every man be a liar. Period. It's literally that simple. That's what is going to give you the strength and the boldness that you need, because at that point, I went through my process of asking. I went through my process of finding out. I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I put out 15 fleeces. I put out 20. Lord, I ain't questioning you. I'm trying to make sure that I understand. Is this right here how you want me to do this? That's what I'm trying to show you. So now that you understand that, see that this is the other thing that I need for you to get to help you understand. Point number one, not doing what the Lord told you to do, how he told you to do it, is your sin, not anybody else's. Watch this. Even if they lied. You're like, whoa, hold on, Lions, hold on, Apostle, hold on, Pastor, hold on, teacher, wait a minute. So you telling me that if somebody else comes up and they swindle me, they tell me the Lord sent me and this is what you need to do, and then you surrender to them. Here's my question. Did you hear from him or not? Y'all type that in for me. Did you hear from him or not? Capital H on him. Did you hear from him or not? Because if you heard from him, anybody else that comes and has an opposing thought process with what you were told to do, you better have some conviction in you enough to know, yeah. Now, I know what I heard. Now, I might not have understood everything about it, but I know what I heard. And now, I'm finna stick with what I know I heard. And you can like me, you can not like me, you can be mad at me, you can tell me to go kick rocks. I don't care. I know what I heard. See, so now I need for y'all to type that in. I know what I heard. That's what I'm trying to inform in you and get in you now. Because the question again is, are you still sinning? See, the thing that I need for you to understand is this. If you go down farther in 1 Kings 13, now I can get the rolling. I done set this foundation good enough. I hope y'all ain't mad at me. I hope y'all understand what's going on. Because now I know what I heard. I know why he gave this to me this way right here, right now. Because again, I have to follow a lot of stuff that I do not understand. I'm going to say that again. I have to follow a lot of stuff that I do not understand. I don't understand the fullness of it, but I know what I heard. And when I know what I heard, and I know what he told me to do, because again, he gives me instructions that he don't always give me the complete understanding about. So when I don't get the complete understanding, and I'm still trying to sit there and no, Lord, I ain't moving, and I realize that he's not answering anything else. Only thing I can do at that point is do exactly what he told me, whether I understand why or not. Here's why I need for you to understand why I'm saying this. If you skip down to verse 11, it says, now there dwelt an old prophet in Bethel. See, this old school, new school again. That's why I broke that down like that for you. The old prophet in Bethel, excuse me, and his sons came and told him all the works that the man of God had done that day in Bethel. The words which he had spoken unto the king, them they also told to their father. And their father said unto them, what way went he? For his sons had seen what way the man of God went, which came from Judah. And he said unto his sons, saddle me the ass. So they saddled him the ass. He rode thereon and went after the man of God and found him sitting under an oak. And he said unto him, art thou the man of God that camest from Judah? And he said, I am. I could preach on that right there, but that ain't what I'm here for tonight. But watch this. He says, then he said unto him, come home with me and eat bread. And he said, I may not return with thee, nor go in with thee, neither will I eat bread, nor drink water with thee in this place. For it was said to me by the word of the Lord, thou shalt eat no bread, nor drink water there, nor turn again, watch this, to go by the way that thou camest. He said unto him, I am a prophet also as thou art. And an angel spake unto me by the word of the Lord, saying, bring him back with thee into thine house, that he may eat bread and drink water. But he lied to him. He lied to him. Now, here's why I gave you that in the first point. Not doing what the Lord told you to do is your sin, not anybody else's, whether they lied to you or not. Here's why you got to understand it. That's why I wanted y'all to see Thomas the other week. And that's why I showed y'all Thomas. And I showed y'all the other things that I showed you with Thomas. But I need you to understand why Thomas was such a crucial piece of the puzzle to the 12 disciples. Thomas stood on what he stood on, no matter what anybody else said. He stood on what he stood on not wondering whether or not Peter was going to pull out his sword and slice him up. Even though that's his fellow disciple, he done seen Peter be Peter. But Thomas was like, look, I don't care what y'all saw. I don't care what y'all are saying that you saw. I ain't believing it until I can touch him, till I can stick my fingers into his side. I ain't going for it. This is where you need to get. You say, you telling me to follow Thomas? I'm telling you to follow this mindset that Thomas had. Whether you watch this. Watch what happens, because I need you to see this. I was finna say something, but let me go on, and then I'll address what I was fixing to say. Because he goes on and he says, watch this, but he lied to him. So he went back with him and did eat bread in his house and drank water. And it came to pass, as they sat at the table, that the word of the Lord came unto the prophet that brought him back. And he cried unto the man of God that came from Judah, saying, thus saith the Lord, for as much as thou hast disobeyed the mouth of the Lord, and hast not kept the commandment which the Lord thy God commanded thee, but camest back and did eat bread, and hast eaten bread, and drunk water in the place of which the Lord did say to thee, eat no bread and drink no water, thy carcass shall not come unto the sepulchre of thy fathers. And it came to pass, after he had eaten bread, after he had drunk, that he saddled for him the ass, to wit, for the prophet whom he had brought back. And when he was gone, a lion met him by the way, and slew him, and his carcass was cast in the way, and the ass stood by it. The lion also stood by the carcass. And behold, the men passed by, and saw the carcass cast in the way, and the lion standing by the carcass. And they came and told it in the city where the old prophet dwelt. Now, at first glance, this looks completely unfair. He lied to the man. He was manipulated. He was bamboozled. That's what I was going to say. Even if you are getting bamboozled, it is still your responsibility to stick to your original instructions. Do what you were told to do, period. I don't care if they got the same office. I don't care if they got the same authority. I don't care what they got. You do what you were told to do, period. See, y'all type that in for me. Do what you were told to do, period. Do what he told you to do, period. Because especially if they start trying to pull rank, it's going to make sense here in a little bit. Because if they start trying to pull rank, that's letting you know that they trying to manipulate you anyway. They were trying to manipulate you anyway. Well, they trying to pull rank, they try to manipulate you. So don't even fall for it. Especially when you know what you heard, when you know what you were told. See, this is why I got to get you to understand this. So now let's get ready for this second point so we can do what we got to do tonight. Watch this. Now I need you to go to Galatians chapter 5, verses 16 and 17. Galatians chapter 5, verses 16 and 17 says this. Galatians chapter 5, verse 16 and 17. He says, this I say then, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. Remember our question. Are you still committing sin? Are you still sinning? Look at what he says. I say then, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh, for the flesh lusteth against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the one to the other, so that you cannot do the things that you would. Second point is, if you're focused on not sinning, then sin is still your focus. Sin is still your focal point. If you are focused on not sinning, then sin is your focal point. So here in Galatians 5, that's why you need to highlight, dog ear, triple scribble, do whatever you need to do to verse 16, because it says, walk in the Spirit. So he's trying to show you the Spirit is the focus instead of the lust of the flesh, instead of the doing the wrong thing. Well, I don't want to do the wrong thing. Well, you're probably going to do the wrong thing because your focus is the wrong thing. I'm not being negative. I'm just saying, if your focus is the wrong thing, you're probably going to do the wrong thing, because that's what you're focused on, is not doing the wrong thing. I know this probably does not make sense to some of you the way that I'm saying it, because you've been so programmed from the old school to focus on sin, to zero in on sin, to look at sin, to watch out for sin. That ain't what he's telling us to do. That's why a lot of people jacked up right now, because they started focusing more on what not to do than they did on what they should be doing. That's what I try to do, is I try to show you what you should be focused on. I'm not telling you to look out for the bad stuff. I'm not telling you to not sin. I'm not telling you all of those things, and I'm not telling you to sin. I'm telling you to listen to what you were told to do, because the sin is when you don't do what you were told to do. Yeah. Now let's dig. Now let's get real deep. So for the next word, let's go to Proverbs chapter 4. Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 7, because this is going to get us set for the points that are going to flow the rest of this evening. It's Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 7. You done heard it before. You probably know exactly what it says. But I want to show you something in it. Because in Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 7, it says, wisdom is the principal thing. Watch this. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. See, this is where church folks have messed the scripture up. They focused more on the understanding than they have the wisdom. Teach them, Lions. Teach them, Lions. They focused more on trying to understand than they have with just knowing what was I told to do. What were you told to do? See, that's where you have to get to the place that you are comfortable with knowing what you heard. What were you told to do? And let that be your focus. And then when you let that be your focus and you go do what you were told to do, the understanding will then come. See, now there are times that he will give you understanding beforehand, but not every time. So this is what you got to understand. The fact that you won't get the understanding all the time doesn't keep you from carrying out the wisdom that you know you heard. I know I'm messing with some folks tonight, because this is what you got to understand. The wisdom that you know you heard supersedes the understanding that you don't yet have. Teach them, Lions. The wisdom that you know supersedes the understanding that you don't have. Oh, ooh, See, but you done got so caught up in all thy getting, get understanding. Yeah, you gonna get it, but if he give you the wisdom first, don't waste your time trying to understand everything if he ain't giving it to you when you ask. But notice that in the book of James, he said, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask God. He didn't say understanding. Like I said, the light bulb just went off for some of you. He says, if any of you lack wisdom, he doesn't say understanding. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask God, who giveth liberally and upbraideth not. So he'll give you clearly what to do, but you may not always understand why you need to do it that way. And I know that that has caused some of you to turn inside out right now because you've been trying to understand all your life. And that's why you've been stuck. You've been trying to focus on making sure that you understand before you even take the first step. You ain't going to always understand before you take the first step. Let me help you with that one. You will not always understand everything before you take the first step. Ain't going to happen. So this is why I needed to lay that out that way for that level. Understand, so here's the third point. Understand what you're supposed to be doing no matter what anybody else is doing. Understand what you are supposed to be doing no matter what anybody else is doing. That's why the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the Daniel, all of those passages and those things are examples that sometimes the majority ain't doing what needs to be done. You might be the one that he's using to do what needs to be being done. So this is why you got to understand. The ones that bowed down while Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego wouldn't, it wasn't that they were wrong because they were following and obeying the king's instructions. And it looked like that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego might not be obeying the king's instructions. So they're looking like some disobedient Christians. They're looking like some rebellious Christians. They're looking like ones who are not bowing down to the king. They're looking like ones who are not, watch this, following the laws of the land. They're looking like ones who are not being pleasing to God. Let me just go on because I got to set this up to get you ready for Saturday. So for our next scripture, let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 18, verses 9 through 14. Excuse me. Luke, chapter 18, verses 9 through 14. Because this right here is going to be vital for you to understand. So Luke chapter 18, watch this, verses 9 through 14 says this. It says, and he spake this parable unto certain which trusted in themselves that they were righteous and despised others. Uh-oh. Old school church, I'm putting you on notice right here. Some of the saints that was back in the old school church, back in the old dude, they mean as rattlesnakes. Despising others. Talking about how other folks should or shouldn't. Ain't no better than that. They shouldn't even been up in the church. Shouldn't even. Y'all already know. You know. You know I'm telling the truth. Spake this parable unto certain which trusted in themselves that they were righteous and despised others. See, that's what some of the new school churches trying to do too. Trying to call out the gays, the lesbians, trying to call out the transgenders, trying to call out whoever, whatever you want to call out. Am I condoning that? No, I am not. At all. Not even close. But this is what you got to understand. In verse 10, it says, 2 men went up into the temple to pray, the one a Pharisee and the other a publican. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, God, I thank thee that I am not as other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican right here. I fast twice in the week. I give tithes of all that I possess. And the publican, standing afar off, would not lift up so much as his eyes unto heaven, but smote upon his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone that exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. Here's what I got to prepare you for, and here's the thing that I got to tell you. As I have asked you the question, are you still committing sin? Even if you're not, here's what you're going to run into sometimes for our fourth point. Some folks focus on not sinning just so that they can play Holy Ghost Jr. and correct others who are sinning. Some folks focus on not sinning just so that they can correct someone else who is sinning. Just like this right here that I just read to you. This is why I need for you to understand that, because you are still going to have to do what you were told to do, no matter how they're responding to you. Whether they're calling you and saying that you are Satan's child because you are doing that so wrong and God is not pleased with you, but you know that without a shadow of a doubt, you are doing exactly what God told you to do. This is why I need for you to understand this as we get ready for our fifth and final point. I asked this question because this was how God told me to ask it. All of the questions that you encounter on our Bible studies, they are questions that He has given me to ask the specific way that they're being asked. As I show you our last 3 passages of Scripture before we cover our last point, I want you to understand that going into this year of 2024, we still got 3 months left. Yes, 3. It's a leap year. We still got 3 months left on God's Hebraic calendar and biblical calendar. And there are some things that I'm going to help you set straight before those 3 months are up. So in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31, verses 31 through 36, Jeremiah, chapter 31, verse 31 through 36, says this. Watch this. It says, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break. Whoa, 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 hold on. Time out, time out, time out, time out, time out. Hold on. So you telling me he was holding their hand and it still broke the covenant? And this is why I'm so passionate about this one. Because he goes on and he says, although I was a husband to them, saith the Lord, but this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith the Lord, I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord. For they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity and will remember their sin no more. Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is his name. If those ordinances depart from before me, saith the Lord, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. So what God is saying right here is saying, children of Israel are my people, period. As long as you see a sunrise and sunset, and as long as you see a moon rise and a moon set, the children of Israel are still my people. He's saying because before they will not be my people, then there won't be a sun and a moon. Not going to happen, folks. So watch this part right here. When he says, if those ordinances depart from before me, saith the Lord, then the seed of Israel shall also cease from being a nation before me forever. So he calls them seed, not child. He calls them seed, not the grown-up. He calls them seed. So he says, I'm going to give everybody the chance for the start. I'm going to give everybody the chance to obey me. I'm going to give everybody the chance to not sin against me. Uh-oh. That's messing with somebody's theology. We were born in sin. Okay, so that means Jesus was born in sin then. That ain't true. Them lies. So you got to understand, a lot of the beliefs that people have that have been taught from the old school church, they're garbage. I have no other way to say it, because now I got to step into the apostolic authority and give you this last point and show you with these next two passages. So in the book of John, or before we go there, watch this. Verse 34, Jeremiah 31:34, where he says, I shall, and they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember that word sin right there means their offense. It also means their habitual sinfulness. He says, I'll remember that no more. He says, I'm not going to remember all of the wrong stuff that you used to do. I'm not going to remember all of those bad things that you used to do when you didn't know any better. Just because you know him, watch this, doesn't mean that you know what you should be doing. You say, wait, hold, Lions. You going a little far right there. Just because you know him does not mean that you know what you are supposed to be doing. That's why I'm addressing your understanding. That's why I'm addressing the wisdom. So now let's go to John chapter 8. John chapter 8, verses 1 through 11, because I'm going to show you this and then something in John chapter 5 before we close. But this is what I need you to get. So then in John chapter 8, verses 1 through 11, it says this. It says, Jesus went unto the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came unto him, and he sat down and taught them. And the scribes and the Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what sayest thou? This they said, tempting him, that they might have to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground, as though he heard them not. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, He that is without sin, he that is without sin, you ain't missed nothing. You get everything right all the time. He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning at the eldest, even unto the last. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. When Jesus had lifted up himself and saw none but the woman, he said unto her, Woman, where are those thine accusers? Hath no man condemned thee? She said, No man, Lord. And Jesus said unto her, Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. Now the word sin right there in verse 11, it actually means hamartanio. Hamartanio means, watch this, to miss the mark. So what he's saying to her right here is, don't miss this mark no more. Don't miss this mark right here. So she's given mercy right here. She could have been stoned. She could have been killed. She could have been taken out for the wrong actions that she was still committing sin. So she could have been taken out. But Jesus says, no. If you without sin, cast first stone at her. If you ain't missed the mark nowhere, then you can stone her for missing the mark. I'm fixing to go somewhere with something because I need to show you this. So he then says, neither do I. You were doing something that you shouldn't have been doing. You missed the mark. You did something that God didn't want you to do. But I'm not even going to stone you. But here's what I am going to tell you. I'm going to give you mercy here, but don't miss this mark no more. See, y'all type that in for me. Don't miss this mark no more. You'll see why I need you to type that in just a minute, because now I want to show you John chapter 5, verses 1 through 17. John chapter 5, verses 1 through 17. And this is our last passage. It says this. Watch this. Says, after this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. Woo! Watch this. He says, in these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever then first, after the troubling of the water, stepped in, was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. Now, y'all know, we just looked at this passage, but I'm going to show you something different. We looked at this passage over the past couple of weeks, but I'm going to show you something different. Keep watching me. John chapter 5, verses 1 through 17. It says, a certain man was there which had an infirmity 38 years. When Jesus saw him lie, and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, he saith unto him, wilt thou be made whole? The impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man. So again, he's not taking accountability for the question that he was asked, number one, and then not taking accountability for even what was put in front of him. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a minute. He then says, I have no man when the water is troubled to put me into the pool. But while I am coming, another steppeth down before me. Jesus saith unto him, Rise up, take up thy bed, and walk. And immediately the man was made whole, and took up his bed and walked. And on the same day was the Sabbath. The Jews therefore said unto him that was cured, It is the Sabbath day, it is not lawful for thee to carry thy bed. He answered them, He that made me whole, remember, because I told y'all I'm going to listen to who made me whole. He then says, The same said unto me, Take up thy bed and walk. Then asked they him, What man is this that is that which said unto thee, Take up thy bed and walk? And he that was healed wist not who it was, for Jesus had conveyed himself away, a multitude being in that place. Afterward, Jesus findeth him in the temple, and said unto him, Behold, thou art made whole. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come unto thee. Wait a minute, time out, hold up. I done been in this state 38 years, finally get free, finally rolling, and I can walk around, and now you telling me, hold up, don't sin no more? He said, don't miss this mark anymore. Well, what's the mark? He really doesn't define for us what the mark is. But here's what does happen. Watch this. Sin no more, lest the worst thing come unto thee. The man departed and told the Jews that it was Jesus, which had made him whole. And therefore did the Jews persecute Jesus and sought to slay him, because he had done these things on the Sabbath day. But Jesus answered them, My Father worketh hitherto, and I work. So notice what happens here. Now he's saying, sin no more. Don't miss this mark anymore. Same thing he says to the woman caught in adultery. Don't miss this mark anymore. Don't miss this spot right here. So between Jeremiah 31, John chapter 8, and John chapter 5, all three of them are talking about sin not being remembered or don't miss this mark. Here's why I got to show you this for the last point. Because for our last point, do what you are designed to do, and you won't miss the target that you are the arrow for. Ooh-wee. Do what you are designed to do, and you won't miss the target that you are the arrow for. See, I need for y'all to type that in for me. I'm an arrow. You're an arrow. You've been being directed and pointed even before you were in your mother's womb. There was a target set in the earth. It's only designed for you to hit the bullseye on. So when the question was asked, are you still sinning? Are you still missing what you were put here to hit the bullseye on? See, the reason that I need for you to get this is because I'm just trying to point you in a proper direction. I'm just trying to help you to see that ain't nobody else searching for the target that you're designed to hit. Because they're an arrow that don't fit the target that you're designed to hit. You've been set aside for a specific thing. You've been given a specific mark to hit. Brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind. I'll reach forth and I'll press toward the mark of the prize of the high calling in Christ Jesus. You were put here to do something that no one else was put here to do. You are an arrow that's set for a bullseye that nobody else can hit. But you got to find out what that is and go and sin no more. Don't miss this mark no more. See, Saturday, we're going to be talking about voluntary and involuntary. See, you can't make your heart beat. And you can't make your blood flow throughout your entire body. You have no say-so of how those things work. You may have an impact on them if you're not doing the right things concerning them, but you can't sit and tell your brain to tell your heart to beat. That ain't how it goes. There's voluntary actions of the body, and there are involuntary actions of the body. You got to understand that your will is set up the same way. He built you for something specific. Your heart beats for it and will not accept anything less than it. Once you find out what it is, you will pursue that target and never sway away from it. You won't have the ability to keep missing the mark once you find out where your mark actually is. So I want you to understand that everything that you've been designed to do here in the earth, there's a specific target for it. Can't nobody hit it but you. But you've got to get to the place that you stop missing that mark. The reason some of you have been missing that mark is because you've been letting others point you in a direction that ain't even yours to be going in. Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. on Exclusive Ecclesia. I don't think you want to miss it. I don't say that much, but I don't think you want to miss this one. Because, again, as we look at transitioning from religion to kingdom, and we begin to look at the voluntary actions, the involuntary actions, and how those things actually function. And then you find out who you really are. We're gonna, as we dig into that and we begin to address that, like I said, parental discretion is advised for Saturday, because when I start to talk about the blood flow, I start to talk about the heart, when I start to talk about those things, I'm going to be speaking of in a small section of time. It's not going to be the whole message, but in a small section of time, I'm going to be telling you and explaining to you how you have control over one specific place on your body about how blood flows there. But the rest of it, you don't really have a say so until there's something wrong. So, like if you sleep on your arm wrong and you start to feel the blood not flowing there, then that lets you know, hey, you need to shift so that the blood can flow there. So you shift. And that's what you do. Voluntary action initiates an involuntary action. Involuntary action runs on its own. Doesn't need your help. That's why you have no say-so about your heartbeat. That's all in God's hands. That's all in whether or not He wants you to keep going. And it's up to you as to whether or not you come into agreement with Him, watch this, and pursue the target that He gave you to pursue, so that you won't keep missing the mark that He put you here in the earth to hit. Saturday morning, exclusive ecclesia, around about 10:30ish. Going to dig deeper into this. Gonna address some more things, and I'm excited for where things are going for all of you. He don't have you on here listening to me for no reason. So the fact that you took time, the numbers are showing there's at least 16 of you, and I'm believing that there will be more that will catch this one. I'm excited about how He's going to work through you as certain things start happening on this earth, because you're going to be able to hit your target, because everybody else is going to be discombobulated about theirs. But you're going to be well equipped to do exactly what you need to do. And some of you have already been experiencing that. Some of you have already been having people contact you discombobulated and not knowing what to do. And you have been cool as a cucumber, calm about it, know the direction, know how to walk them through it. That's going to increase. That's going to happen even more. But I love you guys. I'm looking forward to what God's going to do on your behalf as you begin to understand the target that you're the arrow for. As you begin to understand clearly the target that you're the arrow for, everything's going to change. So I love you guys. Y'all take care. Y'all have a blessed rest of the evening. Peace.